Thank you for popping into this video. I'm here to set the record straight. Today I'm going to explain once and for all that we've been playing the Donkey Kong games in the wrong order. Let's start with Donkey Kong Country 3. In this adventure, we're rescuing Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong from the clutches of the Kremling's new master Chaos. They have recently been celebrating their victory against K. Rool and his army of baddies. It's easy to assume this was a fight with K. Rool from DKC and DKC2, but the manual's explanation of the story doesn't specify that those games are to reference confrontations. Oh, but Mel, what about Wrinkly's introduction at the start of a new game? I found life too hectic at school with all these naughty Kremlings pestering me all the time. Dude, she's old. She had a life before this game. She's a retired teacher. Here, we also meet Funky Kong, who's running a boat rental shop and is building watercraft. This is important as his timeline is relevant. We are given Kiddy Kong and progress through the game. Eventually to Lake Orangutanga, we discover Swanky Kong and his traveling sideshow that accompanies us to the 7 main worlds. He is making a living offering entertainment and rewarding skilled performances. We also see Cranky here as our only opponent. He is spending a lot of coins here. Wrinkly is showing concerns with the following. If you bump into Cranky, tell him to stop wasting his money on Swanky's bonus games. We will come back to the Kongs and see their lives progress shortly. For now, we have to call out other observations on this adventure. We receive help from Ungard the Swordfish throughout the adventure, and he's considered at the peak of his abilities. We come across Quawks, the purple parrot. Quawks can fly upwards and hold more than just monkeys. We also discover Belcha, a basic invention left in a barn. This buggy invention seems to be that of a failed scientist. We also discover Mechanos, the robot Chaos, who the Kremlings follow. This makes his second appearance in a castle, where we find K. Rool after defeating Chaos. K. Rool, as we all know, is a drama kid with a full wardrobe. He is disguised as Baron K. Roolenstein, most likely as the previous losses to the Kongs have turned the Kremling armies against him, so he had used Chaos to maintain this control. We also establish he's married, and the machine was made at his wife's displeasure. When we defeat K. Rool, we find a hidden world and discover K. Rool has a submarine. He is defeated again, and to complete the game fully, we must visit Funky. Funky Kong has been helping us throughout the whole adventure and reveals that we found all the DK coins, he's not only able to make different watercraft, but a flying machine he calls the Funky Copter. This lets us finish the game. K. Rool has been defeated, Swanky has hustled coins out of Cranky, and Funky has now proven how to make flying machines. This brings us to DKC2. Donkey Kong was kidnapped by pirates led by K. Rool. So let me ask you, King K. Rool, even playing a mad scientist, was in a castle. What is he doing as a pirate captain now? Well, let's look back at the setbacks in DKC3. He used his wife's best kitchenware to make a robot that Kiddy Kong and Dixie Kong destroyed. He's no longer safe at home and has turned to piracy to restore his wealth and his status as a leader. As we go through the second adventure, Kiddy departs. We don't know his parents, but they obviously didn't trust Funky or Dixie to babysit this powerhouse of a toddler. As we adventure, we see Cranky now in a monkey museum. If you can call it a museum. Look at it. He's selling Winky for $5, a copy of Killer Instinct for $2, and a mounted Kremling head for $3. You can call it a museum if you want. I'm not going to argue with a primate of his demeanor. But let's not pretend anymore that this isn't a pawn shop at best, and more of a garage sale. Wrinkly is also now at Kong College teaching and charging for lessons. Both these Kongs now seem focused on spending their golden years of retirement earning money again. Why? Well, if we acknowledge that DKC3 happened prior, we know what happened, and that Cranky spent all their savings on Swanky's midway games. As we progress, we also meet Swanky Kong, who's bankrolled all that wealth into a TV game show production. As we meet Ungard, his super stab ability is still present, but he's not as invincible as before, a sign of age setting in. We discover Funky Kong, who's moved on to opening his own airport system, naming it Funky Flights 2, and providing a biplane. Double wings, the 2 at the end of the airport name, this can clearly be seen as clever marketing. We also see that Quox has shown signs of aging as well, no longer able to fly upwards and not holding monkeys for indefinite periods of time like he could with barrels. As we adventure, we eventually rescue Donkey Kong, who is trapped aboard a giant metal aircraft known as the Flying Croc, another invention clearly of K. Rool's. If we have found all the treasure, we get the full story that includes the second round fight with K. Rool, this time at the core of the island, and after we defeat him, the island is destroyed, leaving us with the Kongs watching the island go down and K. Rool slowly escaping on a boat. You know who we don't see make it off the island? That's right, Wrinkly. She has died, and this is after the events of DKC3, so it still lines up with DK64 and her spirit helping on our adventure. This leaves only DKC left. K. Rool, now having pillaged a pirate island, has enough to fill his coffers to recruit an army again. They use the darkness of night to come and steal the banana horde. Now, the question at this point is why? We know he's a failure of a leader, and he's resorted to plundering wealth and even used DK as a bargaining chip to steal the banana horde. It's clear that K. Rool is trying to win over his wife, who is still pissed off, and show he's not a failure, but also a provider and sticking it to the Kongs once and for all. We can see the progress of Kong life continue. We find Cranky an old man, a widower now, and just rambling nonsense in his cabin. The stress of his life partner's death clearly too much for him to process. Funky Kong has developed his funky flights and has advanced to the modern era of jet barrels. Dixie Kong is no longer around, and with no sign in DK64, she has probably decided to avoid the spotlight. Being a poor babysitter and a destroyer of a whole crumbling world isn't all it's cracked up to be. Candy Kong is introduced for the first time, running a save station. Now that Wrinkly is gone, the obvious patriarchy is forcing gender roles onto the ability to save the adventure. But that's a whole separate issue. And finally, we find Swanky Kong, who lost all the investment in his game show sets, with them going down with Crocodile Isle. This causes his show ratings to plummet, and when insurance excludes acts of Kong as a peril type, the last bit of civility snaps in his mind, and he blames Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong for the outcome, and takes up the name Banky Kong. As we progress through the final game, we notice Squawks and Quawks are gone, leaving only their baby on the island. They must not have made it off Crocodile Isle. Ungard and Rambi show even more signs of aging, no longer able to use their signature supercharge and stabs. All these signs are there as we finally defeat K. Rool. We win our bananas back, and K. Rool only returns to the island with the shenanigans of DK64. As you can clearly see, this adventure is clearly the correct timeline. But why has this been wrong this whole time? Why is there this apparent cover-up over the truth? It all comes back to Cranky Kong. You see, it's Cranky's fault. He bears the responsibility for Wrinkly's demise by spending their savings and forcing her to go back to work. With him changing the story, he tells it in a way that avoids accountability. But now you know the truth.